Good afternoon. Oh, I don't need this. The leper was groaning. The corners of his mouth were drawn back from his teeth. A rapid death rattle shook his chest, and with each intake of breath, his belly hollowed toward his spine. Then he closed his eyes. I feel as if ice were in my bones. Come here next to me. And Julian, pulling aside the covers, lay down on the dead leaves next to him, and they were side by side. The leper turned his head. Undress, so that I may have the warmth of your body. Julian took off his clothes and then, as naked as the day was born, got back into the bed. And against his thigh he felt the leper's skin, colder than a snake and rougher than a rasp. He tried to encourage the man, who replied, panting, "Oh, I'm dying. Come closer to me. Warm me up. Not with your hand, no, with your whole body." Those words are from Gustave Flaubert, The Legend of St. Julian the Hospitaller. It's part of a book named Three Tales, and it is written after a kind of middle-age comics, a stained glass window on a church of Rouen in France. At the very moment Julian kissed him, the old leper turns out to be an angel, maybe Jesus himself, and Julian is taken to heaven. I put those words at the beginning of a story called Negroes, Yellow Negroes. I will read now the first pages of it. I'll read in French, but you'll have the English text on the image, so it will be a kind of subtitle movie. T'es quand même pas chier, bordel de merde. Faudrait tout te donner. Faudrait tout te foutre dans ta putain de gueule. Je te donne du travail alors que tu n'as même pas de papier. Je te paye. Il faudrait encore que je fasse le boulot à ta place. Mais alors, pour venir ici, là, t'as eu besoin de personne. Et comment tu veux que je fasse bouffer du Eisenstein à cette ville de gland si le mardi soir, les affiches du mercredi sont toujours pas posées? Tout mon cycle est foutu en l'air, putain. Tu comprends ça? Qu'est-ce que t'as dans ton putain de crâne, hein? Fais gaffe quand même, fais gaffe. Sans papier, je suis bien gentil de te faire travailler. On fait tout pour vous aider. Alors mettez-y un peu du vôtre, merde. Ou alors reste chez toi, putain. Ouais, c'est ça, casse-toi. T'es vraiment trop con, mon pauvre. Tu te dégages d'ici et c'est pas la peine de revenir la semaine prochaine. Ça manque pas les gens qui veulent travailler. Alors, elle te plaît? Bon, évidemment, il faudra en prendre soin, elle a quand même vécu cette bagnole. Tiens, en parlant de ça, comment va ta mère? Pourquoi tu me demandes ça? T'en as rien à foutre, non? Hé hé, t'as raison, c'est plus mes affaires maintenant. Fais gaffe, il y a un feu là à droite. Au fait, ta grand-mère me disait, il paraît que t'as un nouveau copain, hein? Comment ça se fait que je l'ai jamais vu? Tu le caches? T'as honte? C'est un nègre ou quoi? Ben, comment t'as su? Eh, quoi? Comment j'ai su? Je sais rien du tout. Je disais ça pour déconner, moi. C'est pas vrai, hein? La route, regarde la route. J'y crois pas. Ma propre fille, avec un nègre. Comment t'as pu me faire ça? Comment? Non mais sérieusement, Claire, c'est vrai ou pas? Et comment tu veux que je sache, bordel de merde? Il y en a une chier des nègres dans cet immeuble. Alors écoute, soit tu connais l'adresse des gens que tu viens voir, soit tu dégages. C'est clair? Et on me parle pas comme ça à moi. Je suis de la police, moi. Ah ouais, en attendant, ça fait plus d'une heure que tu fous la merde dans tous les meubles en sonnant à toutes les portes. Alors maintenant, tu... Police nationale française, monsieur. Circulez, s'il vous plaît, vous allez avoir des problèmes. Fasciste. Ah non, monsieur, il n'y a pas de noir ici. Il faut essayer au-dessus. Ah. Eh, bonjour Alain, c'est moi. Bonjour Martine. Nègre jaune, Yellow Negroes first appeared in an anthology, Le Cheval sans tête, that I was publishing back in the 90s, with Olivier Marbeuf, a fellow I met at university. We were in our 20s then and studying science in a suburb of Paris. He was doing music, writing, paintings, and I was doing comics. We did a book together that was released in quite a big publisher, but we discovered that the kind of comics we loved and wanted to do couldn't flourish there. That's how we create this quarterly magazine. And so what you see on the right, no, on your left, sorry, is the cover of the third issue, where begins the publication of the original version of Yellow Negroes. And on the right, you will recognize a sequence I've been reading you, a divorced father offering a car to his daughter, asking her about her boyfriend, making a joke about him being a black, and discovering it's not a joke. This did happen to my girlfriend at that time, so I was the black guy. And so, well, yes. And here, you recognize the sequence where a racist janitor is yelling at a strange guy with a mustache and a trench coat and hat, arriving in a project looking for some black people and ringing at every door. He finally finds the people he was looking for, 2 African people, 1 man and 1 woman. Those people were friends of my father. They were living at his place when I got back there for a few months. They entered France as tourists, but stayed. They had no documents, no right to live in France, no right to work. And this guy, Mario, says that he can help because he knows people and he works with the police. But he's weird. He talks too much. He says that he was a soldier traveling around the world with General de Gaulle. He looks a little crazy. And a young guy arrives that appears to be an artist. You can say it's me, even if the character name is Sam. I didn't intend to make an autobiographical comics, and it's not. But this character is there to root the story in reality. Mario does exist and arrived in the building we were living one morning. Mario is Algerian, or is not Algerian. He is what is called in France a harki. That means that during the Algerian independence war, he was on French side. Most of the harkis died at the end of the war, abandoned by the French, and they were executed by Algerians. But some of them were able to go to France. Oh, sorry. No. Yes. You can notice that Mario is much blacker than Sam. His face looks tortured by black ink, but in reality he has a color close to mine, but lighter. This color can be one explanation for the title, Yellow Negroes, but it's not the only one. When I first thought about this story, I wanted to do a short story printed in sealscreen with 2 colors, violet and yellow. All the characters should have been yellow then, like The Simpsons. And I had to give up the idea. And here you can see pages from the 4th issue of Le Cheval sans tête, and you can see that the style had changed a little bit. And so we learn soon that we are on the morning on Christmas Day, or the day before Christmas. Mario is going to invite Martin and Alain for dinner, and we quickly understand how pathetic is this character, rejected by everyone, craving for love and friendship. So the short version, first intended, would have been a reversed Christmas tale. And so yellow Negroes can be someone with my skin color or the color of skin of Arabic people. It can also be someone it can be someone with my color of skin, milk and coffee, I was told as a child. Yellow will be there also to be the color of betrayal and trickery. When I was a child, some of my uncles, among the French ones, will use the term yellow to speak of a traitor or insidious person. They didn't think about Dr. Fu Manchu, but rather they had in mind Japanese whose technological products were about to overwhelm French market. I remember some Japanese videotape recorder being stopped in Poitiers, just like the Arabs were in the 8th century by Charles Martel, in a battle that is still an inspiration for the far-right movement in France. Yellow is a color of cowardliness and perversity, as in yellow peril or yellow belly. But this is not something new. In the Middle Age, in the chivalry novels, the traitor will always wear yellow. Yellow, of course, is the color of a doom star some people used to wear in Germany back in the 30s. A yellow Negro can evoke a kind of imaginary creature, someone or something that is, in the racist eyes, worse than a Negro or a yellow or a Jew. We all can be the yellow Negro of someone else. We all can have our yellow Negroes working for free in some Wonka chocolate factory or in the footwear industry in Asia, starving before the door of some supermarket or dying in the Mediterranean Sea. When we decided we would serialize this story in the magazine, I had to do it so in black and white. But I kept something of my first idea, using black not in a naturalistic way, but rather in a symbolic and expressionist way. Those pages from the magazine are one of the few that appears in the book without any change. Mario is looking for Alain that was supposed to visit him. He didn't want to wait. He has to come to our place without being invited. He's wet because it was raining. He's cold and he's complaining. He says that he's so cold that he's going to die. Since he smells as a wet dog, he only gets a dirty sheet. And someone get out of his room. Sam, the artist. Me, if you like. Mario has fallen asleep in a couch, and Sam comes to draw him. Mario is the starting point of this book. He is the main yellow Negro of the book. You can call him, as American soldiers did for Iraqis during the Gulf War, a sand nigger. He is the leper, but I didn't kiss him. I just made some art out of him. You have here on the left the page published in the magazine and the final version of the book. Not so much change, but on both versions, Sam does not look sympathical. Rather that he look like a hunter looking after a prey. This didn't happen. I didn't draw him while he was sleeping. But this is there as an image of me making the book. And these pages in the book is followed by one page that was not in a magazine. Here it is, and I will read in French one again. À présent, je suis une ombre. Je suis venu pour la douleur, pour aiguiser mon chant, la langue qui saigne. Je ne peux l'imaginer silencieux, paisiblement ensommeillé. Il geint, grimace, ouvre les yeux sans quitter le sommeil. Je dors à ses côtés, j'ai le souffle des victimes. L'aimer ou le détester, quelle importance? La pitié torture l'horreur. La bienveillance est liée au dégoût comme une rose qui grimpe ma jambe. Mon amour est si bref. J'ai promis ta mort, Mario. The narrator of this book appears to be a shadow, nurturing himself from his characters, or sacrificing the weaker one for the drama purpose. Mario didn't die, even if I've never heard of him anymore. But in a way, he does bring me here. After Yellow Negroes, there's a 20-page story that I wanted to look just the same, since they are connected through the character of Martine, the lonely African woman of Yellow Negroes. I imagine her meeting a taxi driver and having an affair with him. The taxi driver is inspired from someone that took me for a ride one night. I intended to make something that looks like Yellow Negroes, but it turned out to be different. I decided to tell the story not from the outside, but from the inside. So the picture had to be mental, not something you see, but something you feel, imagine, or remember. In the text, I made a kind of attempt to use something like a flow of consciousness. And so it has to fit with those mental pictures. Here's the first version of it. There's also a first version of it. I think it was okay, but I needed a new version for another project that will be printed in photocopy and silkscreen. So I had to do something with no grayscale, no shades. And when I brought the story together for the book Yellow Negroes and Other Imaginary Creatures, I've chosen the black version, so this one. I started with black and white for economical reason, but little by little, I realized it was not only a matter of money, but also a question of narrative efficiency. You can do more with less. I did go back to grayscale, though. And this is another story for the anthology Le Cheval sans tête. And I did try to use the same style I did for this story. But it was not working. Here I needed to make sequences, and also I needed to mix it with images of memories, photographs, thoughts, imagination. So I expand the story, and it has become a 200-page book called École de la Misère, School of Misery. This hasn't been translated yet. It's focused on Claire, so the young white French girl with a black boyfriend. She goes to the funeral of her grandfather. So she will meet her family and her father she is not in good terms with. Claire didn't want to go inside the church, so she stayed outside and smoked, and remembered the time she was visiting grandfathers in a hotel, and they had a hotel they had in a popular district of Paris. They were using this place as a small brothel. Alien foreigner workers, black or North African, will be the clients. She thinks about her lover because that's when she decided as a child that she will marry a black man. After the ceremony, she looks some photographs with her cousin, since the grandmother was a photo addict. And they find photos of naked natives in Africa and postcards from Cameroon. Picture from a grocery held by a white family with black servants. And so Claire learned that her grandfather was attracted to black women because she not only find naked natives, but also African black women dressed properly, but waving their skirt to show their breast. In the magazine, the story was told by the character Claire, and my girlfriend wrote it under the pen name Eleanor Stein. But I wanted to tell more to you, to expand this story. And my intention there was to show everything without the help of words or voiceover. After trying to make a kind of flow of consciousness using both text and picture, here I wanted to try it without the help of words, except the balloon of the character speaking. So Claire learns that her grandfather was attracted to black women, and so she feels connected with him because of that, since she's attracted by black men. Love, she says, amour. Love is definitely the theme I'm working on, or the theme that is working on me. Back to Yellow Negroes. You've seen those pages before. Alain and Claire making love just after the father of Claire made this terrible discovery. United States is well known all over the world for its prudery and also its pornographic industry. So, in this pornographic industry, this is called interracial sex. And it is not to be shown on Facebook or maybe even here. So I'm sorry if some of you find this offensive. This is not my intention. I don't believe in race, but I was born and I asked to live in it. I endorse much more the term racialization. Race is a social construction. Racism is an ideology that supports and claims for the existence of races. We have no races if you don't. You have no races if you don't have racist and racism to make it exist. And here, I use quite a lot of ink, black ink, on the face of the African character. I do emphasize the contrast of skin. I didn't decide it, it came naturally. And I also emphasize the big lips, both on the version of the magazine and the book version. Sex is something I like to draw. Because I was a very shy and introverted person, drawing has been related with my fantasy in my teens. This is not very original. It might even be seen as a caricature, a male teenager reading comics and getting more and more interested in female superhero tight-fitting costume that won't hide much of their anatomy. But this connection between sex and art is not something I would see as funny or something personal or unusual. On the contrary, I do think that it deals with the root of art. Here you will see drawings are made from Greek vase in form of a head of a white female and a black male, and the cover of some American pulp magazine with savage Africans native kidnapping a white naked pinup. On Roman fresco of Pompeii, for instance, you will see that only women are white. Men are red. They get outside to fight, and they get burned by the sun. Oh, one page is missing. So this will be improvised end of the lecture. And so as you have understand, you can see this as an image of me and my girlfriend of that time. And if I had so much interest in this interracial sexual intercourse, it's not only because of me and my girlfriend, it's even more intimate, because it's a matter of it's also my father and mother. And in this book, École de la Misère, Alain and Claire are going to have a baby. And so I am the baby. I'm Alain, I'm Claire, I'm the baby, and I'm also Mario, or the father of Claire. And I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused because there are not so much missing, but I do need it because I needed to read it and I had some quotes. But Gnostic and Manichaeist believe in a good and spiritual world of light and a bad and evil world of matter and darkness. And I don't believe in this. I don't believe in good and evil. And I do believe that black and white are one. Thank you. Now I'm ready. I'm really sorry for this. I think maybe the last page is just back. Oh, here it is.
Are you ready for Q&A?
Maybe since I have this, I can
Yes, absolutely.
can read at least a piece of it. It will
Absolutely.
be better because it was important for me. Okay, so in École de la Misère, there's a lot of explicit picture of sex intercourse, but it was not aimed to be interracial pornography. It deals with my own intimacy because the girl character was inspired by my girlfriend, and so this is me and her, but more deeply because of it's my father and mother. Alain and Claire will have a baby. Oh, I've told this, and I'm the baby. Just as I'm Mario, Alain, Claire, and even our father. A French writer, Pascal Quignard, wrote about what he have called the sexual night, the night we've been conceived. I wasn't there the night I was conceived, he wrote. An image is missing in the soul. We are product of bodily position that must necessarily have been adopted, but will never be revealed to our eyes. We call this missing image the origin. We look for it behind all we see. Gnostic and Manichaeist believe in a God in a good spiritual world of light and evil material world of darkness. But the work of the prophet Mani was much more subtle than the image we have about Manichaeism. Until today, Mani is remembered in Iran as a poet and a painter. So I don't believe in Manichaeism. I don't believe in good and evil. I believe in love, and I believe that black and white are one, as I mentioned before. Thank you. But I really wanted to have this quote about Pascal Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yvan. So we can go ahead and bring those lights up. So we're going to have a mic on either side in just a second. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question for Yvan.
Nobody? Perfect.
Don't be shy. Right down here. Great.
Hi, I really love your work, and the aesthetics are wonderful. And I would like, if you could talk more about your technique, what paper you use. Are you using India ink? Do you sketch a lot before you go, or are you directly going into the ink? Thank you.
So I begin actually to work on my first work in black and white was this project, Yellow Negroes. And actually, before that, I was not, I wouldn't draw black people. There was no black character in my comics because there was no so much black character in the comics I've been reading as a child, or except the natives in Tarzan or that kind of character. There's many of Tarzan-alike character. So I was reading this as a child, but of course, when you read this as a child, you see yourself as Tarzan, not as a native falling down a hill like ah. And at a certain moment, I didn't want to feel prisoner of this. Like some people will ask me, "Oh, why don't you draw black people?" And I said, "Okay, that's not because I'm black that I should draw black people." And then after I started to draw black people, and then after the people will ask, "Oh, but why are you drawing black people always?" And so people are never happy with you. But let's answer I will answer to your question. So I begin to work on black and white with this project, Negroes jaune. And so you've seen the picture. I had to work, I'll go back to the very first version. Because you'll see that it was really a process. Like when I was doing this, I was really unhappy with that because I was trying different pen, different brush, different paper, and actually the original of these pages are photocopy because I took some different part of it, there was different paper, and I put the frame, black frame on it because I was not happy with the pictures. And so I had to work a lot, and at a certain point I tried a paper that was really good for me because, so that's how that's when it becomes to look like this. Because I found a paper that will react with the brush the way I want it. Because I had some effects on when I do a line with the brush, but not too much because I wanted to have too much. So I do find this paper, and I did. It was. The name of the paper was Joanno, from the name of the inventor of vellin paper. It's a paper for engraving, to print engraving. And so I've worked on this paper for maybe 10 years. All my project will be on this paper. So this Negroes jaune, but also Dia, the one that you've seen after that. Skip this one. And also the grayscale one. Everything was done on this paper. And including this, and when I put some grayscale, there was really a special texture that I really like. But this one day, I was not able to find this paper anymore because they stopped the production. Someone bought the company, and another company bought it, and they cut a lot of things, and this paper disappeared. And after this paper disappeared, I stopped drawing for years. Really, and I was only able I didn't include some of the project I've done before, but then after I actually start again drawing, doing a kind of a project inspired from dirty comics, the dirty comics from the 30s in America, they printed in Mexico, Tijuana Bibles, that kind of thing, and I do something out of it, and so basically the idea was that the drawing doesn't have to be good, so I was able to do whatever I want, and that's how I was able to start again drawings. But I will use paper machine, the kind of thing that you put in your printer. So that's what I'm using now, because I'm sure that I will find it everywhere and they won't stop the production unless we are done with paper, but that's not yet. And so yes, paper, it's good that you asked this question because paper has been really important for me. And also when I was doing this, so this is also the same paper in America, they printed in Mexico, Tijuana Bibles, that kind of thing, and I do something out of it. And so basically the idea was that the drawing doesn't have to be good, so I was able to do whatever I want, and that's how I was able to start again drawings. But I will use paper machine, the kind of thing that you put in your printer. So that's what I'm using now, because I'm sure that I will find it everywhere and they won't stop the production unless we are done with paper, but that's not yet. And so yes, paper, it's good that you asked this question because paper has been really important for me. And also when I was doing this, so this is also the same paper. So very different thing, but only with the same paper. And when I was doing this, I will use like a plastic brush, a very bad brush, and quite a big one, because I didn't want to do any details. So I will choose a brush that is too big, and then after try to make details with it. So it doesn't work, but you can feel it, at least I hope. But that was how I was working there. And I also decided to use, to draw also with white lines, as you see. And I also wanted here to have something like, make some kind of picture that will be moving in a way, a moving picture, a little bit. Or maybe like a still from film, or of a photograph when you, something. So I wanted to have this kind of effect. And to be able to mix something that will be a reproduction of photographs and something that will be happening for real and something that will be thought of the character.
Great. We've got a question right up here.
Thanks so much for your presentation. I was wondering if you have an audience for your work in Francophone West Africa?
In what? In West Africa?
Yeah, in Francophone West Africa.
No, I don't know why actually. I mean, when I published one book, and I was about to go go back to Benin and have something there, a project there, but it didn't happen. And since then, I didn't find a way to do something. And I think in Africa, comics is still, most of the African artists that want to do comics, they want to do really traditional comics. So maybe this is too unusual for them. I don't know. But I will be there and I'll try to do something one day soon, I hope. But yeah, I have no audience or no feedback. I've read some article, for instance, about African or artists from African origin, of that kind of thing, and they will mention me, but as someone that is a little known in France, but has no audience in Benin. But yes, I hope it will change someday.
And the other question I had is, given your, how does your message of racial unity resonate in France, given the ongoing debates about immigration and assimilation and all these other charged sentiments?
Well, that's, we've been working, and I've been working around this topic since the 90s, since, as you see, and we are still in it, and it's I'm afraid it's getting worse and worse. That's the only thing I can say. And we have this debate in France. You have only each time you have an election, you have to focus. It seems that immigration is the center of what's happening. Like, okay, immigration, and some people will talk about illegal migrants. So because everybody's agreed to be against illegal migrants because they are illegal, so it's not possible to be illegal. Like those one, everybody is kind of agree to pull them away. But most of the time, the people, they talk about illegal immigrants, but that's not the people they are aiming. They are not. They are thinking about people that are not immigrants, people that were born in France but don't have the color and don't have the religion that they wanted to do. So that's the problem, because immigration is not so much a problem. The problem is that we still have people that are there maybe for 30 years or more, but they are still considered as stranger, and there are still this struggle. And I think it's getting worse and worse, because a politician has been using this, like, you have no choice. You have the far right, or you have Macron or someone else. But it has been used as a way to, you don't have choice yet. You have to escape from the far right, so you have to accept anybody else. And so a very dangerous game has been played with that, but not only with Macron, but with the one since François Mitterrand. There's this problem, yes. And of course, as an artist and as an individual, I'm concerned with that. And I'm dealing with that. But I don't know what can I do, and I don't know where I will go with that. I don't know. It's really, it's something, I don't think about it every day, but it's something that is in everyday life in France, yeah, of course.
We've got a question right in the back there.
I had a question about your materials that you're using, not the paper, but the pen or the ink or the brush.
Yeah, the ink,
the
I
medium.
didn't mention, the ink is Black Indian ink. Yes.
Okay. It's lovely work, thank you.
I like the idea of using really poor material. I work since more than 25 years now, I think. I've been working as an artist, but mainly as a publisher. I've been working a lot with some other artists and publishing some. So the publishing house was named Amok, but then we made a kind of joint venture with another small publisher named Fréon from Belgium, and it became Frémok. And so I've been working a lot on publishing also. And for me, it's a way, I couldn't do only my, focus only on when I'm working, I really focus on my work, but I like to also go and see the work of some other people, and it makes no sense for me to do some artwork if there's not some others doing as well. It's because I like the work of some others that I feel also like doing something. And yes, I don't remember exactly why I was telling this, but help me with another question.
We've got one right over here, John.
Hi, Yvan.
Hi.
Thanks for the talk. My name is Yvan.
Oh, hi.
Hi. I'm a grad student, and I study comic books and race specifically.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I'm also very interested in this type of story. I love the book, by the way.
Oh,
thank you for coming. And I was wondering if there are other artists that you know in Paris or France that are working in this type of genre, if it can be called a genre.
What do you mean, this kind of genre?
Bande dessinée quotidien. Do you have a name for it? Domestic
there's
stories?
many, but so maybe you have to tell me something more specific if you want me to give
sure.
one name or two.
Yeah,
because since the 90s, I mean, when I've done the Negro Jaune in the 90s, in the middle of the 90s, it was really unusual to have that kind of story in a comics. And telling that kind of story was enough for somebody to come and say, "Oh, this is not comics," because comics should be about adventure or funny things and fantasy in general, but not real life. So it was really uncommon at that time. And maybe, and it was a little bit after Art Spiegelman was publishing Mouse, so that was a big thing. But at that time, no comic publisher wanted to publish Mouse. Nobody. It did. It's literature publisher that published Mouse in the 90s because the comics publisher didn't want it. Even the most literate, even the one, let's mention it, Casterman was saying that they were doing like graphic novel, but they still consider that it was not well drawn enough. Like it was, it's interesting as a storyboard, but you have to do the real pictures now. And so nobody wanted. So it was really unusual at that time, to make that kind of comics. But now, today, it's quite common. And you'll find a lot of of comics about real life or even non-fiction comics. You have several magazines that are only with comics journalism. Kind of thing, like a little bit like Joe Sacco, but at some time, most of the time, actually, it's quite different from Joe Sacco. And in my point of view, it's less interesting because most of the time it will be a comic artist adapting a reportage, an article from a journalist. So comics is used as a way to put some, as a way to bring some news or some work coming from the field of sociology or whatever to a general audience. And so you have really many things happening. In my opinion, maybe too much. Like it became a genre. Like, okay, now you have these independent comics, and at the beginning it was comics that come from independent small publisher, like we did, like L'Association, Cornelius, several, quite many small structure has appeared in the middle of the 90s. But now, today, big publisher will give you independent comics because now they know that there's an audience. There's the book Marjane Satrapi, Persepolis, has been a huge success. It has been translated into English, of course, but I don't know how it worked here in the United States. But in France, it was really huge. It's several 100,000 of copies has been sold, and there's a movie and so on. So it was really used. And then after, every big publisher has his own collection, or even several collections of independent comics, and reality comics, and whatever, and non-fiction comics. And so maybe, yes, maybe if I can give you name if you have more precise, yes. But yeah, you can find many of it, yes.
Merci.
We have time for a few more questions if anybody has one. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Yvan.
Thank you.